Hello students, welcome to the lecture on Human Resource Management, and after the lecture we will be able to learn the following objectives. Discuss the objectives of HRM, understand the scope of human resource management, define importance of HRM, discuss evolution of HRM, explain environmental influence on HRM, discuss the challenges of HRM. Let's start with a brief introduction of human resource management. Human resource management is a process which consists of four main activities, namely acquisition, development, motivation, as well as maintenance of human resources. French Wendell defines human resource management as the recruitment, selection, development, utilization, compensation, and motivation of human resources by the organization.
Human resource management is an essential part of a business's strategic plans for success. An HR manager has a wide variety of responsibilities. A key part of human resource management is to develop and maintain a workforce that is both productive and happy. This may also mean training new staff and even working with current staff to help them achieve career growth, which in turn helps the company meet its goals. An HR manager will also be involved in planning for a company's future and adding to the company's competitive advantage. Reward systems are also the responsibility of a human resources department, including employee compensation, incentives, and benefit packages. And, of course, an HR manager has to be able to effectively address conflicts that may arise between coworkers. In addition to these tasks, the responsibilities of human resources also include worker protection, health and safety of employees, enforcing employee rights, and developing the organizational culture. This course will guide you through developing the individual, group, and cultural skills required to help an organization be a desirable place to work.
Let's now discuss the objectives of HRM. Organizational objectives. The HRM is a means to achieve efficiency and effectiveness. It serves other functional areas so as to help them to attain efficiency in their operations and attainment of goals to attain efficiency. Functional objectives. HRM performs so many functions for other departments. However, it must see that the facilitation should not cost more than the benefit rendered. Personal objectives. In today's world, there is shortage of requisite talent. Employees are encouraged by competitive firms to change the jobs. The HRM has the responsibility to acquire, develop, utilize, and maintain employees. Societal objectives. HRM must see that the legal, ethical, and social environmental issues are properly attended to. Equal opportunity and equal pay for equal work are the legal issues not to be violated. Let's now take a look on human resource policies. Human resource policies are systems of codified decisions established by an organization to support administrative personnel functions, performance management, employee relations, and resource planning. Personnel management policies. Personnel policies provide guidelines for a variety of employment relationships and identify the organization's intentions in recruitment, selection, development, promotion, compensation, motivation, etc. According to Armstrong, personnel policies are continuing guidelines on the approach the organization intends to adopt in managing its people. They define the philosophies and the values of the organization on how people should be treated, and from these are derived principles upon which managers are expected to act when dealing with personnel matters. Purpose. The establishment of policies can help an organization demonstrate both internally and externally that it meets requirements for diversity, ethics, and training, as well as its commitments in relation to regulation and corporate governance. Let us understand the relationship with other fields. Nature of the work. There are many types of human resources, training and labor relation managers, and specialists. In a small organization, a human resource generalist may handle all aspects of human resources work and thus require an extensive range of knowledge. In a large corporation, the Director of Human Resources may supervise several departments, each headed by an experienced manager who most likely specializes in one human resources activity, such as employment and placement, compensation and benefits, training and development, or labor relationships. Employment and placement. Employment and placement managers, they supervise the recruitment, the hiring and separation of employees. They also supervise employment, recruitment and placement specialists, including employment interviewers. Compensation, benefits and job analysis. Compensation, benefits and job analysis specialists administer the compensation programs for the employers, and many specialize in specific areas such as pensions or position classifications. Compensation managers might administer executive compensation programs or determine commission rates and other incentives for corporate sales staff. Employee assistance plan managers, also called employee welfare managers or work-life managers, are responsible for a wide array of programs to enhance employee safety and wellness and improve the work-life balance. Training and development managers and specialists create, procure and conduct training and development programs for employees. Training, other qualifications and advancement. The educational backgrounds of human resources, training and labor relations managers and specialists vary considerably, reflecting the diversity of duties and levels of responsibilities. Education and training. Many offer individual courses in these subjects at the undergraduate level in addition to concentrations in human resources administration or the human resources management, training and development, organizational development and compensation and benefits. Other qualifications. Experience is an asset for many specialties in the human resources area and is essential for advancement to senior level positions, including managers, arbitrators, and mediators. Employees in human resources administration and human resources development need the ability to work well with individuals and a commitment to organizational goals. Let's now have a look on the scope of human resource management. Human resources planning. Human resources planning refers to a process by which the company to identify the number of the jobs vacant, whether the company has excess staff or shortage of staff, and to deal with this excess or shortage. Job analysis design. Another important area of human resource management is the job analysis. Job analysis gives a detailed explanation about each and every job in the company. Recruitment and selection. Based on the information collected from job analysis, the company prepares advertisements and publishes them in the newspaper. This is recruitment. Orientation and induction. Once the employees have been selected, an induction or orientation program is conducted. This is another important area of human resource management. Training and development. Every employee goes on the training program, which helps him to put up a better performance on the job. Training program is also conducted for existing staff that have a lot of experience. This is called refresher training. Performance appraisal. Once the employee has put in around 1 year of service, performance appraisal is conducted. That is, the human resource department checks the performance of the employee. Compensation planning and remuneration. There are various rules regarding compensation and other benefits. It is the job of the Human Resource Department to look into these remunerations and compensation planning. Motivation, welfare, health and society. Motivation becomes important to sustain the number of employees in the company. It is the job of the Human Resource Department to look into the different methods of motivation. HRM in personnel management. This is typically direct manpower management that involves manpower planning, hiring, recruitment and selection, training and development, induction and orientation, transfer, promotion, compensation, layoff and retrenchment employee. Productivity. HRM in employee welfare. It covers appointment of safety officers, making the environment worth working, eliminating workplace hazards, support by top management, job safety, safeguarding machinery, cleanliness, proper ventilation and lighting, sanitation, medical care, sickness benefits, employment injury benefits, personal injury benefits, maternity benefits, unemployment benefits and family benefits. HRM in industrial relations. It is the art and science of understanding the employment, union management, relations, joint consultations, disciplinary procedures, solving problems with mutual efforts, understanding human behavior and maintaining work relations, collective bargaining, and settlement of disputes. Let's now understand the importance of HRM. The HRM is the strategic management of the employees, who individually and collectively contribute to the achievement of the strategic objectives of the organization, aiming to enable the organization to achieve its strategic goals by attracting, retaining, and developing employees. HRM functions as the link between the organization and the employees. The HRM activities in modern organizations are typically performed in communication with the general management in an effort to provide a variety of views when a decision must be taken. To achieve these goals, human resources management trains and motivates the employees by communicating ethical policies and socially responsible behavior to them. The evolving business paradigm. In the manufacturing and the traditional sectors, the need to remain competitive has meant that firms in these sectors deploy strategies that make effective use of the resources. This change to business landscape has come about as a result of a paradigm shift in the way businesses and firms view their employees as more than just resources and instead adopt a people-first approach. Strategic management and HRM. In the modern day HRM practices, there is a need to align organizational goals with that of the HR strategy to ensure that there is alignment of the people's policies with that of the management objectives. The aims of strategic management are to provide the organization with a sense of direction and a feeling of purpose. The importance of HRM for organizational success. The practice of HRM needs to be integrated with the overall strategy to ensure effective use of people and provide better returns to the organizations in terms of ROI or return on investment for every rupee or dollar spent on them. Human resources along with financial and material resources contribute to the production of goods and services in an organization. Physical and monetary resources by themselves cannot improve efficiency or contribute to an increased rate of return on investment. Corporate. Good human resource practices help in attracting and retaining the best people in the organization. Planning alerts the company to the types of people it will need in short, medium and long run. Attracting and retaining talent through effective human resource planning, recruitment, selection, compensation and promotion policies. Professional. Effective management of human resource helps to improve the quality of work life. It contributes to professional growth through providing maximum opportunities of personal development of each employee and maintaining healthy relationships between individuals and groups in the organization. Social. Sound human resource management has a great significance for society. Society as a whole is a major beneficiary of good human resource practices. Maintain a balance between the jobs available and the job seekers in terms of numbers, qualifications, needs and aptitudes.
So we're going to take a look today at the value of strategic human resources management. We're joined today by Rilla Moore, one of Australia's most respected and experienced human resources professionals with a 30-year career, including experience in some of Australia's blue chip companies, such as AMP, ANZ, Westpac and most recently Stockland. Rilla, most CEOs seem to really appreciate the value of strategic human resources management. To what extent has that appreciation grown in the last few years?
Paul, I don't actually think it's increased at all during the last 5 years, sadly. Most CEOs, most organisations will proudly say that people are their greatest asset, but they don't actually do a lot to show that in many ways. And in your profession, you would know that very rarely do you, if ever, have you seen an HR person present at an investor or analyst briefing. They're nowhere to be seen. I'm sure you've never heard an analyst ask a question about how HR works in an organisation. They don't. HR still doesn't always report to the CEO, so how can they take it seriously? HR is still the lowest paid in most of the executive roles that we're in senior teams. So it's just not there. We're still lagging in terms of gender. In fact, we've gone backwards. So Perhaps it's the fault of my profession, perhaps it's the fault of the CEOs, but I think they don't actually know what world-class HR is, so therefore don't know what to ask for.
Rilla, how would you describe strategic human resources management, and what sort of value can it deliver for organisations?
Well, it will deliver great value, of course, but strategic HR is dependent on a few things. Firstly, the HR function must report to the CEO and be part of that executive team. Following on from that, the HR person would be contributing to the business strategy, which means, of course, they must be numerate and they must have business acumen. Doesn't always follow. Once there's a business strategy, the HR function would then develop a people strategy, quite clearly. That people strategy would enable the delivery of the business strategy. So it would make sure that you've got the right people in the right place, in the right numbers, doing the right things with the right capability, and they would be rewarded for high performance. They would also have a set of people metrics and measure themselves just like any other part of the business would measure their performance. Then, of course, the value would just follow, because the business strategy would be delivered and that would be measurable.
Rilla, what can organisations do to increase the level of strategic human resources management?
Paul, it's a twofold question. The organisation has to do something, but so does the HR profession and the HR function within an organisation. So I think that the board and the CEO have to recognise that this is a very senior role and deserves its position in the top team. I think that the board and the CEO have to be able to recognise and demand world-class HR functions, which means a bit of learning. On the other hand, the HR profession has to lift its game and become strategic, which means being part of the business, having business acumen, being numerate. Then, of course, you need very special people in these roles. You need people who can stand up and be counted, who will challenge the organisation. On the other hand, you want people who are compassionate. Above all, this person has to be trusted within the organisation, and they have to be recognised as an outstanding leader. If you do all that, then of course you'll have the answer that you want, more strategic HR, and this would be demonstrated in better business results.
Let's now take a review on the evolution of HRM. Human resources management is directed mainly towards managerial needs for people resources in organizations, with greater emphasis being placed on the planning, the monitoring and the control rather than on problem solving and mediation. The HRM is proactive rather than reactive, is system-wide rather than piecemeal, treats labor as social capital rather than as a variable cost, is goal-oriented rather than relationship-oriented, and is ultimately based on commitment rather than compliance. Personnel management is directed mainly at the employees of the organization, finding and training them, arranging their pay and contracts of employment, explaining what is expected of them, justifying what the management is doing, and trying to modify any management action that could produce an unwelcome response from the employees. The new paradigm seems capable of both describing and explaining the changes in practice and of providing the rationale for elevating personnel management, or to use the more modern term HRM, to strategic importance in the running of organizations.
Did you know that the 8-hour work shift originated in India? The year was 1912, and Tata Steel became the first company to limit the number of working hours for factory workers to 8. This practice was then adopted by Henry Ford in 1914. In 1919, the Works Committee was formed in Tata Steel to handle complaints concerning service conditions and grievances. This was later institutionalized as the Industrial Disputes Act by the Government of India in 1947. In 1920, leave with pay, provident fund and workman accident compensation was introduced by Tata Steel. In 1921, DuPont designed the first ever multi-divisional organizational structure. In 1928, maternity benefit was introduced by Tata Steel. In 1943, Abraham Maslow explored what motivates people beyond pure survival and introduced the hierarchy of needs. In 1945, the world's first educational institution dedicated to workplace studies, School of Industrial and Labor Relations, was formed at Cornell. In 1949, XLRI Jamshedpur was founded. Courses in management and trade unions kicked off. In 1953, Heydrich and Struggles was founded, a first in organized recruitment and leadership consulting. In 1969, ABC Consultants, founded by Bish Agarwal, became the first organized recruitment firm in India. In 1970, Sir Aubrey Daniels coined the term performance management to describe getting people to do what you want them to do. In 1973, David McClelland started the use of competency in people management. In 1974, Larsen and Toubro became the first organization to set up an HRD department. In 1977, Rosabeth Moss Cantor, professor at Harvard Business School, published Men and Women of the Corporation, a landmark work on corporate power as it relates to women. In 1984, Wayne F. Casico addressed the need to justify the cost-effectiveness of the HR function. In 1985, the National Human Resources Development Network was conceived. In 1990, Edward Lawler introduced the concept of strategic pay. In 1992, the importance of non-financial performance measures was emphasized in the Balanced Scorecard, measures that drive performance. In 1996, Dave Aldrich defined the term strategic partner and identified 4 roles: employee champion, administrative expert, change agent, and strategic partner. In 2000, Ricardo Semler, CEO of Semco, Brazil, introduced a system in the company where employees could set up their own pay and everyone knew what the other was making. In 2008, Callie Ressler and Jody Thompson co-created the results-only work environment, where employees were paid for results rather than number of hours. In 2010, People Matters, India's first 360-degree media platform for HR professionals, published its first issue. In 2012, Adobe abolished annual performance reviews and replaced them with a regular feedback mechanism. And in 2013, big data became the next buzzword in HR. The HR function has seen many phases of evolution. People management, irrespective of the shape and form it is in, will continue to evolve because its main function is to make people and organizations more effective.
Let's understand the environmental influence on HRM. Technological innovation. Rapid technological changes and innovations are taking place all over the world. As a result of these, technical personnel are increasingly required. Hence, procurement of technically skilled employees is necessary to match the changing job requirements. Economic factors. Economic conditions influence financial health of the organization. Under favorable economic conditions, expansion of existing programs and creation of new programs are very likely. A number of economic factors affect human resources management of an organization by influencing its operations. Employees' organization. Employees' organizations have mustered strength to match the growth of industrialization. As a consequence, most HR activities are subject to joint decision making when employees are represented by unions. Labor markets. In labor markets, organizations seek employees. Demand for labor and individuals offer their services to organizations' supply of labor. Labor supply and demand have implications on all activities, but particularly for compensation and external staffing. Changing demand of employers. Organizations also undergo changes and consequently their demands on employees also change. The technological revolution and stiff business competition demands that the existing employees adapt to every changing work situation and learn new skills, knowledge, etc. to cope up with the new changes. Let us discuss the changing environment for HRM. Workforce diversity. It is characterized by diversity such as more women entering the workforce, minority group members, older workers, etc. The increasing number of women in the workforce has necessitated the implementation of more flexible work scheduling, childcare facilities, maternity leave, and transfer to the location of husband's place of posting. Economic and technological change. The explosive growth of information technology linked to the internet has ushered in many changes throughout the organization. One of the major changes is the fall of hierarchy. This fall of hierarchy is because earlier, if one wanted information, one had to stick to the chain of command. Economic and technological changes have created an altogether different environment for HRM. Globalization. Globalization has given rise to MNCs. The MNCs are characterized by their cultural diversity, intensified competition, variations in business practices, etc. Given these conditions, from tapping the global labor force to formulating selection, training and compensation policies for expatriate employees, major challenges have arisen for HRM. Organizational restructuring. Organizational restructuring is used to make the organization competitive. As a part of organizational changes, many organizations have right-sized themselves in various ways, such as eliminating layers of managers, closing facilities, merging with other organizations, or outplacing workers. The changing nature of work. Every organization depends increasingly on knowledge patents, processes, management skills, technologies, and intellectual capital. As a result of these changes, organizations are giving and will continue to give growing emphasis to their human capital, that is the knowledge, education, training, skills, and expertise of their employees. Let's now discuss about the changing role of the HR manager. Flatter organizations. The pyramidal organization structure is getting converted into flat organization. The reducing levels of hierarchy mean that more people report to one manager. Therefore, employees will have to work on their own will with less interference from the manager. Employee empowerment. Under the changed conditions, employees have now become knowledge workers. Knowledge workers need to be provided with greater autonomy through information sharing and provision of control over factors that affect the performance. Granting sanction to the employees to make decisions in the work matters is called employee empowerment. Teamwork. Employees contribute to organization more as members of the team. The managerial implications are that these workers should be managed as a team and not as an individual in isolation. Therefore, managers need to follow a holistic approach of management. Ethical management. Ethical issues pose fundamental questions about fairness, justice, truthfulness, and social responsibilities. Ethics therefore means what ought to be done. For the HR manager, there are ethical ways in which the manager ought to act relative to a given human resource issue. Now in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. Human resource management as the recruitment, selection, development, utilization, compensation and motivation of human resources by the organization. The establishment of policies can help an organization demonstrate both internally and externally, that is, it meets requirements for diversity, ethics and training, as well as its commitments in relation to regulation and corporate governance. The educational backgrounds of human resources, training and labor relations managers and specialists vary considerably, reflecting the diversity of duties and levels of responsibility. Good human resource practices help in attracting and retaining the best people in the organization. HRM is proactive rather than reactive, is system-wide rather than piecemeal, treats labor as social capital rather than as a variable cost, is goal-oriented rather than relationship-oriented, and is ultimately based on commitment rather than compliance. The differences between a personnel management (PM) and human resources management (HRM) is a primary goal of human resources are to enable employees to work to maximum level of efficiency.